Hey guys, welcome back to the incoherent. Wow, I'm starting this off really bad. To the incoherent ramblings of a madman. So basically, what I want to talk about today is a YouTube channel that goes by the name of Big Dad, and he's supposed to be a YouTuber who talks about like One Piece, like a One Piece YouTuber basically, right? And this video is basically just a critique and my issues with his content. And the first one, just start off, and this is kind of like the big one. Everything else is kind of a subset to that. Is that he doesn't, at least in the videos that I watch, he doesn't really feel like a One Piece YouTuber. He feels more like a political YouTuber that uses One Piece as a scapegoat to push how he feels about politics and things that are going on in the world, specifically about how Palestine and Israel, that how that whole thing is going on, and it becomes more of the forefront of his videos rather than it being about One Piece and talk about One Piece, right? So to me, I think that's what I don't like about his videos the most, right? And that's not because what he talks about isn't interesting, but it's not what I'm looking for when I'm trying to look at a One Piece YouTube channel, and that's fine, right? And that's just me. He's doing his own thing, but this is more just me going into it and being like, hey, maybe you should do this differently, right? So yeah, this is why for me it just doesn't work for me. That and he comes off as kind of really pretentious in his videos, especially when he's talking about other YouTubers, right? Like Taking 101, Ohara, and Grand Line Review, and basically saying they're sellouts to their audience because they don't want to talk about the real world issues that are happening to compare them with One Piece or to talk about them while talking about One Piece, right? Despite Grand Line Review in the video before him saying all that, or in the video saying, I don't know, he kind of does both in both videos, but in his video he commented under it and said, hey, basically this is why I don't want to talk about this stuff. I don't want to have my viewers be in a space where they can't relax. I want them to be able to relax and to hear and discuss about something that they love, right? That is basically what he wanted. That, and he was like Australian and stuff, and his government really wasn't a part of it, and he didn't have any real knowledge on it, so he didn't really want to talk about it, right? So that all in all, right? I think that is a fair response. But to then say he's selling out because he's doing that or saying that is, I think, again, pretentious and super entitled, right? Because at that point, he gave you the reason why. He he spelled it out for you like full. He showed you the papers. He showed you the contract. He's saying, "Hey, this is it." Right? He showed you all everything you would need to be like, "Okay, sure. I get that." Right? Because at this point it is it depends on the individual why they want to do it or not, right? So he's doing all this. He's explaining it why through his perspective why he doesn't want to talk about it, and you're coming back in not necessarily understanding or with understanding. You're coming in basically saying, "Oh, so because you won't talk about it, now you're sell out to your audience," despite you, despite Grandline Review having done the same thing for years. Same thing with like Tekken 1 and Ohara. They've been doing the same thing for years. And this is not because they're selling out to their audience, right? Like it works, don't get me wrong. But you could say the same thing about Moist Critical or Markiplier or Jacksepticeye, who've been doing the same thing for years and years and years and years. But does that mean they're selling out to their audience? No, it's them doing what they like to do. And I'm guessing, because it's most likely the truth, is that Tekken 101 and Ohara and Grandline Review, they do this type of content. They make it this way because they like to do it that way. That's the way that they like to do things, right? I think that is fair. That is fine. If they like to do it that way, keep it that way. If that's just where your comfort zone is, keep it that way. And if you want to change, you can change. But to sit there and be like, hey, you should do this, right? And if you don't do this, you're a sellout. I think that's a little. You're doing too much at that point. You're going a little too far at that point. That's. Don't do that. don't do that. Don't impose your values onto other people. That is a bad thing. So for me, this guy, watching his videos and going into it and watching these, like, because that was two videos that he talked about that stuff. The first one that I saw was him comparing Gaza and, One Piece. And really that was less about One Piece and more about Gaza and trying to push support for Palestine, right? And then I think the most recent one to be honest, I didn't even finish because 40 seconds in and talking about Gaza is like, no, no, don't save that for past a minute and I'll watch this. But anyway, most recent one basically, which I'm guessing is him talking about if Luffy would like, people like Ludwig or Moist Critical or something like that, because it says cowards on the top, Luffy throwing a punch on like the bottom right, and then Ludwig and Moist Critical bottom left with the Palestinian flag in the background, right? That's what it seems to me what the topic of the video is about, and maybe I should watch it to what's it called, to do like to better do my research, right? But for right now, I'm just this isn't really just to be like super heavily critical or be like pinpoint detail of why I don't like this guy. This is just me rambling, right, and being kind of critical about his content from what I have seen. But anyway, as I was saying, I'm just gonna have to assume what the video is about, because it kind of seems like it's about that. But going into it and saying 47 seconds in that the chemical leakings in Wano, right, that go into the rivers and affect and basically poison the people who live outside of the city of Wano, outside of their like all the like the small fruit users and all the like the poor people, the less fortunate. Saying that is like that's like the same thing as apparently Israel poisoning the water in like the wells or something in Palestine, and America dropping in food or something like that. America dropping in food and like throwing it down from the sky or something like that. It was something stupid like that, right? Saying that thing and saying those things, again, it doesn't feel like you're talking about One Piece at that point. It feels like you're criticizing Israel and America, right? And that's not a bad thing, but don't front it as you're trying to talk about One Piece. It's more of you're trying to talk about this thing, right? It just, to me, it just doesn't make him seem like a One Piece YouTuber. And I'm not saying he doesn't like One Piece. I'm not going to say he's not a fan of One Piece, because I do think he likes One Piece. I do think he is a fan of One Piece. But he's using it more to push out his own personal beliefs, right? And I believe if you want to do that, if you want to talk about your own personal beliefs about politics or stuff that's going on in the real world, put that at the forefront of your channel and advertise your channel as that, or push it to another channel, right? Because if that's going to be at the forefront, no, that's not how that works, right? If you're saying something is like, here, for example, gonna use music, right? Screwface John, for example, he talks about music, he listens to music, right? Music is always at the forefront. If he has something posted on his main channel, it's usually about something music related, right? If he has something on his comedy channel, that's more comedy stuff, right? On his main channel, I think the most recent video, at least as of me recording, that was him talking about the Cardi B and Nicki Minaj stuff, right? That whole thing, the thing on Twitter. That's, by the way, that whole conversation, like that back and forth, that is super funny, right? But still, he talks about that, right? Because those two are musical artists, and they've been having beef for forever, right? So them interacting with each other is kind of something that's gonna be big, right? And that's something music related. And that also has to do with, Nicki Minaj kind of like saying that I think she said that apparently that Cardi B dissed her kid in her album or something like that. I knew there was like Nicki dishes in there in the album, but anyway, it has to do with music, right? And if he has something in his comedy channel, it's usually something that has to do with comedy, right? It's not something that coincides. He doesn't have a video about, I don't know, like the new Drake song coming out, right? Let's say Drake is dropping a new album, and well, did he drop the Iceman album, or is he dropping the Iceman album? I'm not sure, but let's say he's talking about the rollout, right? And then the next video is like a Bill Burr video. That's not how that works. That's not his channel. He doesn't do that. If he does do something like that, it's usually something that's comedy related, talking about reacting to people, like talking about it or something like that. Because usually when he does do that on his main channel, it's like little segments. But if he's doing that in large, I think that's on Comedy Face. But when he does that, he just keeps it on that channel. He keeps everything separate to what he wants to talk about in terms of music and stuff, separate to the channel. Same thing with like Grand Line Review. If he wants to talk about other anime, he does that in New World Review, right? He does that with like Hunter x Hunter and stuff. He doesn't talk about One Piece that much on that channel. Same thing as the like if you're gonna switch it around, he doesn't talk about Hunter x Hunter on Grand Line Review, right? He keeps it separate. Same thing with like what's it called? Same thing with like Jacksepticeye, right? He keeps more of his like he's been keeping more of his like kind of like vloggy kind of videos on Spadicey now, and keeping his gaming videos on his main channel, right? I think Moist Critical has been doing the same thing when he's going into like long gaming runs. He's usually doing that on his gaming channel. Same thing with Hugbees and stuff. They're usually doing these kinds of things on separate channels because their main channel wouldn't really fit that unless they're live streaming, right? Because when they're live streaming and stuff, that's a whole different situation. Same thing with like what's his name, Saros TV, right? He's talking about like anime and stuff. He's doing more live streaming, I think, on there, right? On his second channel than his main channel, right? And the list goes on and on and on. But basically, if you want to talk about politics, that's fine. If you want to talk about how things relate, I think that's fine too. But if you're a One Piece channel or a channel that's focused on music or focus on art or focus on food or something, keep that at the forefront. Keep that as the number one thing. Everything else second to it. Everything else side of it. Keep it as that. Don't market yourself as this one thing and you're going in this totally different direction. If you're gonna go in a different direction, put it somewhere else. Make a second channel. Talk about it on there. That's where that should be. It shouldn't be on the forefront. I don't think it should be on the main channel unless you're one of the YouTube channels that just regularly talks about different subjects, that different stuff, like Asmongold, for example. Asmongold talks about different types of things going on the internet. He talks about, politics. He talks about gaming stuff. I don't think he talks about anime, right? I don't think he talks about anime. I don't think so. But he really just focuses on internet culture, talking about politics, and talking about games, right? And how he feels about that. And you can agree or disagree with his stuff. That's not really what I'm trying to talk about here. I'm just talking about that's how his channel works, right? And same thing with like Saros TV, by the way. Saros does the same thing. He talks about politics. He talks about like general internet culture things. Right, he talks about, I don't know if he talks about games a whole lot, but really it just kind of surrounds more of like internet kind of culture things and politics, and that's kind of where he puts his stuff. It's more broad, right? Broader channels, if you make your channel a broad channel, that is fine, but that's usually what it's marketed as. If you're saying that is a broad channel, right, and you're only talking about one thing, then that's also what's gonna turn people off, in my opinion, right? That will turn me off from watching the channel. So that's my whole thing. To me, his channel just doesn't seem like it's really about One Piece. It's to air out his own personal beliefs about a situation that's going on in a different part of the world. That's what it seems to me. That's all I want to say, right? I'm sorry that this video is a mess. I'm sorry that my camera kind of looks iffy right? It's really dark out. I can't change the exposure on this camera, fortunately. I'm gonna try to get a charger for my actual camera at some point, and you know, shoot, fuck. I could probably put it on here, but I could probably get like a stand for it. I can't remember what the name is. Oh, I can't remember names today. I'm so sorry. I just woke up. I'll probably think about it in the next video. But yeah, probably gonna talk about Absolute Superman and the Absolute comics because I like him a lot in the next video. So yeah, bye bye. I'll see you guys later.